Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joy at Work. Can you believe it? February 2nd, 2020. We're already through the first month of the year into the second month. I hope things are going well for you. Thanks again for joining me. And don't hesitate to subscribe and or send me information, subject matter topics that you'd like for me to share my thoughts on. Today, I want to continue on the topic of feelings and needs, well, the theme of feelings and needs. And today, I really want to focus on who is responsible for how we feel. Who is responsible for how you feel, for how I feel? We live in a society, a time where we put the responsibility for how we feel on those who surround us. We blame folks. You made me feel sad. You made me feel happy, right? But how we feel is often, we often express how we feel sort of outside of us. We externalize it, and our feelings come from somebody else's behavior. But let's think about this a little bit. If you're like me, you don't like roller coasters, right? I get very scared when I get on roller coasters, very, very nervous. I don't enjoy the experience. But I have a child who loves roller coasters. Like she just goes crazy, enjoys them like crazy good when she gets on the roller coaster. So, both of us have different responses to experience of a roller coaster, but the roller coaster hasn't changed. The roller coaster does the exact same thing. It basically takes us on this topsy-turvy journey up and down, but two of us have very completely different responses to the experience of a roller coaster. So the roller coaster stayed the same, but our responses are different. I think there's something in there for us to pay attention to, that the stimulus, the roller coaster, nothing's changed about it, but how I respond versus how my daughter responds is actually very different, which means that our response, the way we feel, ultimately lies within us. It also means that we experience a lot of freedom when we begin to take ownership and responsibility for how we feel. There's a famous quote attributed to Viktor Frankl, but people haven't really been able to affirm this, that says between stimulus and response, there's actually space, right? And it's in that space we have the opportunity to choose what we want to do. That indicates that we own ultimately how we feel, right? There might be stimulus, there might be something somebody says or does that might be stimulus, but the cause for how we feel lies within us. It's often a result of our own unmet needs. It's somebody does something and a need of ours, like a need for meaning, a need for autonomy, a need for physical safety, a need for connection, a need for peace is ultimately not met. And as a result, we feel some kind of way. We feel a certain way. And so when we take ownership of our feelings, when we take ownership of the fact that the way we feel, how we feel is due to a result of our own needs not being met, then that helps us get into that next space of trying to identify our needs and identifying what exactly is not being met. Because once we understand what of our needs are not being met, then we can come up with action plans to address them. Now, this doesn't mean that the individuals we interact with don't have a part to play or couldn't have a part to play in helping us get those needs met. For instance, if somebody talks to you in a disrespectful way, you could say, whenever you say these words to me, my need for meaning is not met because I feel you don't value me, or something like that, right? And that gives that person an opportunity to modify or change their own behavior. But you've also taken the opportunity to look inside yourself and identify what's missing. And if this individual decides not to change their behavior, then you still have the opportunity to determine what you want to do. You could decide that this person will not be the one who defines or determines whether you feel meaning or not, right? You could say, well, if they're not going to change the way they speak to me, that's okay. There are others who give me affirmation and who give me meaning, and I'm going to lean into that instead. So it's really, really powerful for us to own how we feel and own our own needs that are not being met. It's really important that when we have feelings, when we have certain emotions, that we take the time to explore why we feel that way. Week ago, Kobe Bryant and 8 others died in a tragic helicopter crash. And I have to tell you that I spent 3 days in deep sorrow just trying to process and make sense of what has happened. Now, I've posted a link on LinkedIn expressing exactly what had occurred and after exploring my own emotions. And I figured out that it was this loss of connection, a connection that had brought me joy that was no longer there. So my need for connection, that connection was gone, ended that day. Well, ended in a certain way. I'll always be able to refer back to those memories, watch tapes, and do things like that. But the connection just took a different shape. But once I was able to explore that, the healing process began a little bit, and I'm still healing through it and working through it. But that's where it happened for me. And that's why I think it's so powerful when we take the moment to explore why we feel the way we do. We own our feelings. Don't externalize your feelings. Don't externalize how you feel and put it on others. Own your feelings. They could be the stimulus, no doubt, but the cause of why we feel the way we feel lies within us. And once we take a few moments or days or hours, whatever you need to take, to identify our unmet needs, then we might be able to come up with strategies and tactics to have them addressed. All right. Thanks for joining in. I hope this was useful. Again, don't forget to subscribe. See you around. Bye.